Hey guys, we are going to get right into the new lawsuit that has been filed against Sean Diddy Combs. This one's being filed by Crystal McKinney. She is a former Sean John model and she's modeled for other companies and brands. I'm not going to play the video that's on the screen because it's from MTV's True Life. I don't want to get struck, plus she curses in it right away, and this is the very beginning of the video. But it is linked in the description to this video if you want to check it out on your own time. We're going to get right over into this filing. And it's only 15 pages, which is nice because I've got work to get back to right after this. So if you've left me a comment recently on any other videos or you've messaged me somewhere else, tomorrow I'm going through all my stuff and getting caught up. We're going to get into this filing right now, and I know Murph's Turf was here, so shout out to Murph's for being the first one in the chat today. Let's see what we've got so far with this new filing. It is, again, Crystal McKinney is the plaintiff filing against not just Sean Diddy Combs, but also Bad Boy Entertainment and all their doing business as names, and then Sean John Clothing and Universal Music Entertainment Group. So multiple defendants here are being named, and it's being filed in the Southern District of New York. So what are we dealing with? Plaintiff Crystal McKinney, by and through her attorneys, hereby allege and avers of the defendant Sean Combs and all the co-defendants, which they're going to just call Defendants Bad Boy Records, alleges upon information and belief as to all other matters as follows. Plaintiff brings a suit against defendants pursuant to the New York City Gender-Motivated Violence Act. Why is this? No statute of limitations. Why are they doing this? To redress the substantial and lifetime injury she has suffered as a result of being drugged and SA'd by Sean Combs or P. Diddy. So, she's going to be, we've seen this before with other filings that we've looked through that were taking place in the same district. If you are looking for an amount that would exceed $75,000, you take it to a certain venue. And because the plaintiff in this case, McKinney, is seeking more than $75,000, she's going to say that this is the appropriate court to do it in. And even though the model herself, McKinney, is a citizen of Georgia, Combs lives in California, they're saying that we want to use this New York court because Bad Boy Entertainment Holdings is there. It's located right in New York, right in Manhattan. I'm going to pause right here because the main reason for this, the venue shopping, and it's something that attorneys do, this is why they want to go to this jurisdiction right here, because this is what's going to allow them to bring this type of suit forward at this point in time. Because again, even if I just go back to this little teeny thumbnail that we had on the screen when this video started, what do we see at the bottom here? 1998. And we're going to see that her interactions with Diddy were around 2004, 2005. Toggle back over. So, jurisdiction, we want to have this case heard in New York because Bad Boy Entertainment is located there. Sean John is located there. So, venue is proper in the Southern District of New York because a substantial part of the events giving rise to the claim, including but not limited to defendant Combs' assault of plaintiff, also occurred in this district. Now, they're naming the procedural requirements because they're using this New York City Victims of Gender-Motivated Violence Protection Act. This is why we have this look-back window. We can now sue our abusers regardless of when the abuse occurred. The New York City Gender-Motivated Violence Act revives any claim against a party who commits, directs, enables, participates in, or conspires in the commission of a crime of violence motivated by gender. So that's why the companies are allowed to be named as well. The appellate division has held that SA is an act of gender-motivated violence under the law as coerced sexual activity is dehumanizing and fear-inducing. Malice or ill will based on gender is apparent from the alleged commission of the act itself. So just per se, on its face, it's malice. Animus inheres where consent is absent. The above described conduct of defendant Combs, including but not limited to defendant Combs' sexual assault of plaintiff in New York City, constitutes a crime of violence, and a crime of violence motivated by gender against plaintiff as defined by this act. Now, this is where we're going to start talking about Diddy, how the parties met, what their background is, and everything that could become relevant as this lawsuit moves forward, especially as we need to show that there is a cause of action that can fall under this act. So, Diddy, we kind of know some background on Diddy, but they're going to go through the usuals. He's a big, popular, Grammy awarded musician, rapper, and producer. He founded Bad Boy Records. He was also the first male rapper to get a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. In 2022, Forbes estimated that Diddy is worth $1 billion, more than $1 billion. Upon information and belief, Diddy has a long history of committing physical and sexual violence against women and men, as documented in publicly available lawsuits and extensive media coverage. So we're not only citing Cassie here, which had an outcome already, right? That was settled out. But this seems to possibly be referring to Lil Rod, which is still ongoing. On November 16th, 2023, we have Cassie Ventura, an artist signed onto Bad Boy Records, filed a suit in the United States District, same district, Southern District of New York, alleging that Combs provided her with copious amounts of drugs before essaying her. On November 23rd, 2023, Joy Dickerson Neal filed also in New York, alleging that Combs drugged her, sexually assaulted her, and filmed a revenge porn tape of his assault. On November 23rd, 2023, damn, November was not a good month if you were Sean Diddy Combs, Liza Gardner filed suit in the Supreme Court of New York, alleging that Combs and Aaron Hall sexually assaulted her when she was a minor. On December 6th, a Jane Doe filed suit in the United States District Court of, same thing, Southern District, alleging that when she was a minor, she was gang-ard by Combs, Harvey Pierre, and a third named assailant. On February 26, 2024, and so now we're getting the male cited here, the man, Rodney Jones, filed suit in, guess where? The Southern District of New York, alleging that Combs sexually assaulted him and provided laced alcoholic beverages to minors. Now, they're going to talk a little bit about Bad Boy Records. They've sold over 500 million records. They're successful. Same thing. What about Universal Music Group? They've got this deal. Combs has this distribution deal with them. And for several years, they've been distributing Bad Boy's catalog. Sean John Clothing. They've had retail sales of over 450 million. And they're noting that Sean Puffy Combs was the CEO and president when he attended Men's Fashion Week, where he ended up meeting McKinney. So now we're going to get into factual allegations. We're going to get some background on McKinney here. I do want to say hi to everyone that's joined the chat ever since. So good to see you. I feel like I haven't seen you in so long. And then Chillmonger. That's what I was thinking. Especially, first of all, it's only 15 pages. So Chill's saying this probably took 2 days to write up. But, you know, it's a little bit shorter. But you do have to wonder, was this going to come out today regardless of what else happened in the past week? Or what are we working with? Just curious. And honestly, my curiosity is purely curious because I think there's enough going on with Diddy that it's kind of like he's got the uphill battle to defend himself against accusations when normally that shouldn't be the case. But I think people have seen him get away with enough. There's been enough rumors that now anytime anyone accuses you, people are already positioned to believe a certain thing. And I'm going to say maybe we shouldn't look at individual accusations in the same light that we look at, you know, the big picture of things. We should still look at things individually and evaluate them as such. But we're human. Sometimes it can be kind of hard to detach ourselves from the big picture and zoom in. But we're going to go through this. We're going to talk about the big picture and the specific allegations here. And where they collide, they collide. And then High Value Man's in the chat saying, when will they indict this man already? I don't know, but these things keep plopping down in the Southern District of New York. So something's got to give, you know. And, you know, this is civil, guys. What we're looking at is a civil filing. But if he's got an ongoing, if the feds are still looking into him, who even knows? Who even knows? Every new lawsuit like this that comes forward, if the feds aren't looking at the person that's filing them already, when this comes out, they're going to go and talk to that person too. So This seems to be like another person that's going to come around and say, hey, this may have happened in multiple states and there were drugs involved. And that kind of gives you that gray area where now, even if a statute of limitations on the criminal act of SA or battery could be outside the statute of limitations, now you might be getting into a gray area where someone could come forward and say, hey, maybe there's trafficking or RICO or cover-up and conspiracy, or where is it though? Someone out there has to be thirsty to bring something forward, some type of indictment. And then Arbiko, good to see you. Arbiko says, I read a blind item that a New York City politically affiliated person doesn't want to make a move because they are compromised. I'll let the chat guess. I'll let the chat guess. Barbara, good to see you. I can't wait to, I'm sure you have given me an update on the news I have missed today. So I'm going to check in with you tomorrow because we need to catch up on some stuff. Is this it? Carbro says Cassie's lawsuit is the blueprint. Pam just says Diddy, 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 Diddler. And then High Value Man supporting the stream already. Thank you so much. And it's good to see you chatting in here too. I always love to see you actually participate and you support. It's so nice to be supported by you, but you support so many other people. It's always so good to see you in general. And I appreciate that you are supporting little old me. So thank you so much. And then, where's Significant and Gangstalicious when you need them? Wait, is that referencing something? And then that's last I heard is that Diddy is in Bali. Must be nice. Must be nice to be at rock bottom in Bali. So, at the age of 17, we are now talking about Miss McKinney. Plaintiff won MTV's inaugural model mission on December 5th, 1998, a televised modeling competition akin to Miss America, and she was awarded a modeling contract with IMG. Shortly thereafter, Plaintiff's career took off. She modeled for Tommy Hilfiger. That was all the rage back in, they were talking about the 90s. That was a huge deal to be a Tommy model back then. Plaintiff was also featured in Macy's catalogs, Elle, Cosmo, Mademoiselle magazines. Plaintiff also made appearances in television and film programs such as MTV's Total Request Live. Wow, that's a throwback. Fashionably Loud, True Life, and a movie with Joan Rivers. Well, can we name the movie? What Joan Rivers movie? I know someone in the chat will figure it out. It's going to be Barbara with the receipts on what Joan Rivers movie it was. Furthermore, Plaintiff had international modeling gigs in Germany and Australia. So then, what happens next? In 2003, a fashion designer invites Plaintiff to Men's Fashion Week to meet Combs. Now, if you ask me, this header seems like that was the intent, the way this is worded. In 2003, when Plaintiff was 22 years old, a fashion designer, known as just the designer, invited, I want to sing that Panda song, invited Plaintiff to attend a Men's Fashion Week event held at Cipriani downtown in New York. At the time, Plaintiff was engaged in modeling gigs in Miami, Florida, and flew to New York for the event. This is interesting. We're going to keep specifying that she's flying, international travel. The designer told Plaintiff that he would be introducing her to Combs, which could advance her modeling career. The designer began to direct Plaintiff's appearance as he sought to ensure Combs found her attractive. For instance, the designer instructed Plaintiff to go to Elizabeth Arden to get a root touch-up to ensure it was platinum blonde. Oh, he's going to give me the same advice. The designer also scheduled a stylist, The designer also scheduled a stylist to put in hair extensions for Plaintiff. The designer then handpicked a black leather coat with a fur hood, a translucent chiffon beige V-cut shirt, fur-lined handbag, and jewel-encrusted jeans. She's got the jewel-encrusted jeans for Plaintiff to wear to the event. We know what they're not mentioning here, guys? She didn't get her nails painted white. She didn't get the white nails. Due to traumatic events to occur later, Plaintiff saved the unwashed clothing from that night in her closet where they remain in a plastic wrap. Whoa. Am I reading this right? It's not they remained. It is saying they remain. She still got them. According to this filing, she still got them. She's got the evidence. Let's keep going. This is a lot, though. This is a lot, you guys. Let me ask one question. If you've kept something all of this time, do you think we've got less than 10 pages left in this complaint? Do you think we're going to see any story that she went to pursue criminal charges with this evidence if they still remain in a sealed plastic wrap in her closet? And I see Carbro saying plastic destroys evidence, should be in a paper bag. Well, if I've learned anything from trying to keep up with the Karen Reed trial that's currently going on in Massachusetts, you could have just kept them in a red Solo cup. Because that's how Canton police collect evidence when one of their own dies. They could have just used a Solo cup. But this is, you know, I think that's an interesting thing to see here. But what do you guys think of that bit? Clothes in plastic wrap in her closet to this day. Going back to, what was it, 2003? 2003. Men's Fashion Week 2003. And yeah, Monica Lewinsky in the blue dress. Combs makes promises of career advancement. Soon thereafter, plaintiff took a car to Cipriani downtown, where the designer was dining with Combs and other guests. Plaintiff felt little control over the events, as she was directed what to do and put on display for the others in attendance. Now, let me also say, this so far is saying that the designer is the one directing her and coordinating all of this. But they're leaving the designer to just be named the designer. But this is being worded as if it's problematic that she's being directed. So would that not imply that the designer is also at fault for this? If she's saying that there's something worth complaining about being directed and not having control, but part of that direction is coming from this designer to do all of this, why isn't the designer named in this suit? At least as another party. I'm not saying, like, make this only about the designer. But sometimes the wording is a little bit maybe too dramatic when you're trying to say something you don't feel control, but it's really stemming from the designer being the guiding hand. But let me get off my soapbox. For instance, plaintiff sat down at an empty seat next to the designer, but he insisted she sit down directly across from Combs instead. Once seated, Combs made a very public display of coming on to plaintiff in a sexually suggestive manner, which continued throughout the dinner. For others to hear, Combs bestowed compliments on plaintiff by stating, for example, that she was beautiful and that her eyes were gorgeous. Later, and at a more intimate volume, Combs told plaintiff was going to make it big one day. We're missing a word. She was going to make it big one day as a model. Combs went on to tell plaintiff that he had the power in the industry and was going to help advance her career. Combs provided plaintiff with his phone number as a gesture of good faith in his promises to help her. Throughout their interactions, sorry, I'm thinking of that Cameron interview. I don't know if you guys saw it. Cameron did Kill-A-Cam Cameron. The It Is What It Is his podcast. He basically went on CNN. I guess he was going to be asked about the Diddy situation, but he plugged some, I don't know if it was like a honey pack type drink that he sells, but in the middle of it, he just basically tells the interviewer, he chugs this little thing out of a packet and he goes, hold on, I got some cheeks to clap later. So now when I read stuff like this, someone's giving your phone number and they say it's to advance your career, but they've been calling you beautiful all night. That doesn't give them the right to take advantage of you. One, let me say that first. But two, you gotta be smarter than just characterizing it as, oh, they're only giving me their phone number as a gesture of good faith and promises to help me advance my career. That's all they want. After you just said it was obvious he was making sexual advances in a suggestive manner all night. I'm going to look up who these attorneys are, because they seem a little bit not quite up to Cassie's attorney's levels. But so, throughout their interactions, where am I? 2003. 2003. 2003. 2003. 2003. 2003. 2003. 2003. 2003. 2003. 2003. 2003. 2003. 2003. 2003. 2003. 2003. 2003. 2003. 2003. 2003. 2003. 2003. 2003. 2003. 2003. 2003. 2003. 2003. 2003. 2003. 2003. 2003. 2003. 2003. 2003. 2003. 2003. 2003. 2003. 2003. 2003. 2003. 2003. 2003. 2003. 2003. 2003. 2003. 2003. 2003. 2003. 2003. 2003. 2003. 2003. 2003. 2003. 2003. 2003. 2003. 2003. 2003. 2003. 2003. 2003. 2003. 2003. 2003. 2003. 2003. 2003. 2003. 2003. 2003. 2003. 2003. 2003. 2003. 2003. 2003. 2003. 2003. 2003. 2003. 2003. 2003. 2003. 2003. 2003. 2003. 20 we're going to get more. So throughout their interactions, Combs was flirtatious, bordering on leering, as he leaned across the table towards her. So we still think that this is a good faith promise to help you advance your career, nothing more. Combs also plied plaintiff with alcohol throughout the dinner as he repeatedly refilled her glass with wine. After the meal ended, Combs told plaintiff that he wanted to get to know her better. Combs asked plaintiff to call him a little bit later. Plaintiff felt confused but hopeful that Combs would fulfill his promise to help her career. At what time? What time? This sounds like clapping cheeks. That sounds like the plan. Plaintiff meets Combs at his studio, where he drugs and essays her. So if this happens, that's not okay. Later that night, Combs requested plaintiff come see his studio, located at 321 West 44th Street, New York, New York. Plaintiff felt reassured that she would be with others at the studio, rather alone in the personal residence. Felt reassured by whom? This lacks specificity. Why do you feel reassured? You don't have a line 57 here saying he told you there would be other people and you wouldn't be alone. If that was the case, I feel like that should be something that should be spelled out here. Because otherwise this seems really vague. But maybe let's just take it at face value and see what happens. When plaintiff arrived, she found that Combs and several other men were seated together. She found that they were passing around a bottle of Hennessy and joints. Oh. Okay, I have a question. If you didn't know what alcohol it was, but you wanted to choose a brand that would make the recounting, it would help you contextualize what you're saying. What brand of alcohol would you choose? What brand of alcohol would you choose? But let's keep going. After plaintiff sat down, one of Combs' associates asked her, "Do you smoke weed?" To which she responded affirmatively. So she said yes. Combs' associate replied, "You've never had weed like this before." Plaintiff later, and that sounds like exactly like somebody that's sitting next to... I can picture someone sitting in a circle and saying this. Plaintiff later came to understand that Combs had laced the joint with a narcotic or other intoxicating substance. Now, soapbox moment here. Guys, if you were ever in a situation, and I don't mean guys like men only, anybody, if you're ever in a situation where someone's trying to hand you something just for you, whether that's a drink or a joint, and they're not taking part in it themselves, if you have a funny feeling about that, trust your gut. Don't partake in it, because you never know, and in that moment, you might be the only one that can save your ass from some stuff that you don't want to be a part of. If someone has bad intentions for you and they're trying to give you something that's laced, your decision to not want to be rude in the moment is the last buffer to keep yourself safe. You're the only one. Be rude. Just be rude. It's the safe thing to do. That's my soapbox. Combs passed her the joint, and plaintiff took a hit which felt very powerful. Although plaintiff insisted that she had enough after that, Combs pressured her to imbibe more alcohol and marijuana by telling her that she was acting too uptight. Plaintiff felt as if she was floating. Seeing plaintiff was very intoxicated, Combs demanded plaintiff to follow him, and he physically led plaintiff to the bathroom. In the bathroom, Combs forced himself on plaintiff and began kissing her without consent. Combs then shoved her head down to his crotch before commanding her to suck it. Plaintiff refused, but Combs pushed her head down onto his phallus and forced her to perform oral on him. As she was being assaulted, plaintiff felt panicked and physically sick. Afterwards, Combs led plaintiff back to the studio. Upon standing and walking, plaintiff felt more and more woozy and then lost consciousness. Plaintiff awakened in shock to find herself in a taxi cab heading back to the designer's apartment. Why isn't this designer named in this? As her consciousness returned, plaintiff realized that she had been sexually assaulted by Combs. Plaintiff felt humiliated and traumatized and without recourse. So, guys, this happening is not right if this is what happened. And maybe we'll get into the specificity here. But you say in this complaint that you have the clothes wrapped up in your closet still to this day from this night. But you're saying, and I'll make it big again after this, but she just said she felt she was without recourse. But you still have something that you're willing to mention to bolster your lawsuit here. And you've had it since 2003. And now this lawsuit's coming forward. And maybe she just simply feels empowered. And if that's the case, thumbs up. But this is interesting timing for this to come forward right now. How quickly was this written? Was it written and just been sitting, and she was like, well, hold on, I'm not really sure. But because people were very positive, maybe because there's such a positive reaction right now for Cassie and a negative reaction against Diddy, maybe she just genuinely feels empowered in this moment. Or should we have other questions? And if this were to go to trial, that's not me trying to make you, as someone sitting in the chat room listening to this, I'm not trying to force you into a box individually. But if this were to go to trial, both of those things are going to be argued. Her team is going to say she felt empowered, that's why she's coming forward now, and this act allows her to. And the defense is going to say, well, the timing is really suspicious. Why didn't she go to the police? Why did she come out after she was aware that someone else settled and she saw how well received Cassie's story was once the CNN exclusive drop of this video came out, right? So if this were to go to trial, you are going to see those two things argued. And both of them, it can be uncomfortable to think about because it doesn't feel good to question someone who says something bad happened to them. But they damn sure will be questioned if this gets into a courtroom. So just some food for thought here. Now, what are we saying damages are? This assault, Combs' assault, has caused plaintiff lifelong harm. Following the assault, plaintiff's modeling opportunities quickly began to dwindle and then evaporated entirely. Upon information and belief, Combs had plaintiff blackballed in the industry and utilized his significant influence to impede plaintiff's career growth. Now, this can be an empty statement. Sometimes there can be some, where there's smoke, there's fire. Sometimes it's just someone trying to start something and there's no kindling. So this so far is exactly what I'd want to pin and wait and see. Did he really have her blackballed? Because the first time we get to a grievance, the grievance is her modeling career was stifled. It evaporated entirely. And upon information and belief, we're faulting Combs for that. This is really where I need to see what receipts you've got. Plaintiff became severely depressed as she began to blame herself for the assault and sabotaging her own career. The assault led plaintiff into a tailspin of anxiety and depression. In or about 2004, plaintiff attempted suicide and was hospitalized. Everywhere plaintiff looked, she was reminded of Combs' assault, as Combs was an inescapable presence in music, television, and film. That's valid. So if something happened to you and it was someone high profile, I think me and Pam were talking about it. Diddy is the face of everything. He may have an entourage around him or behind him. But as far as his brands and his artists, it's always Diddy, face forward with all of it. So if Diddy did something to you, it's hard to escape him, especially we're talking about the late 90s and early 2000s. He's gonna be on all media. And then you work in that industry, you're trying to have a successful modeling career, and he's everywhere in music and television and film. So if this really happened to her, this is very valid, this point. In the ensuing years, plaintiff has also experienced alcohol and drug addiction as she attempted to cope with the emotional trauma of being assaulted. Plaintiff has also experienced intimacy issues as she struggles to maintain emotional and sexual relationships with men. I'm going to go back to 82 because she says in her own filing that she partakes in marijuana, and it's possible she was drinking before. So this seems to me, even if everything she's saying is true here, and she went down a spiral specifically because of something she experienced, the defense is going to they're going to be able to say, well, you were drinking and partaking in marijuana before all this. Do you have proof that not only did you start to have an addiction only after this alleged incident occurred? And can you prove that this is what caused it? So this is a difficult thing. I feel like this type of thing is stronger for the public arena, and it's a lot more difficult to actually argue legally unless if you have a bag of clothes sitting in your closet that you never did anything with, you never got it tested. I'm not sure, unless they say it here, I can imagine her taking the time to go get a diagnosis and have someone tell her, hey, yeah, you are dealing with addiction right now. And I don't know where she would have documentation for that if she didn't take this bag of clothing anywhere to get tested. So where are the receipts for this? Plaintiff has also experienced intimacy issues. I think we read that one. And then plaintiff was married from approximately 2006 to 2010. However, her marriage fell apart as she had a mental breakdown precipitated by memories of the assault. Combs' assault has altered the trajectory of plaintiff's career, denying her a successful and lucrative career in the modeling and film industries. To this day, plaintiff experiences bouts of depression, anxiety, body image issues, feelings of worthlessness, and intimacy issues because of Combs' assault. Now, what would the defense say about this? You may be experiencing all of these things, but it could be because your modeling career evaporated entirely and you have no proof that my client caused that. So not only you can't say directly that the cause of your anxiety and depression is this assault. It could just be the depression over your career being not what you wanted it to be. But do you even have proof of proximate cause where, what my client did is actually what caused your career to evaporate, which is what caused you to deal with anxiety and depression for the long term. So, and if you're going to argue this type of thing in court, you've got to come with some paperwork from, therapists. Or did you see a psychiatrist and get prescribed anything? Like, what are the receipts for this? When did this happen? So, unless she has this, because she was happy to mention this bag of clothes, but she hasn't mentioned that she got diagnosed in 2004 with anything. Some attorney may have had to have told her, if you're asking, because she's asking for a jury trial, if you want to take this forward and this were to go to court, this is kind of what they're going to ask of you. The judge might have you undergo an IME, where you have to go sit with a psychologist, a psychiatrist to substantiate the damages that you're claiming. Because you can't just say, I have psychological and emotional disorders and go into a court without being able to put up the diagnosis. So the reason I'm saying all that is because unless her attorney decided not to include any inkling of that so far in this filing, because we're almost at the end of it, I would say they're looking for a settlement and not to be in a courtroom. Plaintiff is a woman of faith, and did I skip anything? No. Plaintiff is a woman of faith, and when she saw news coverage of the lawsuits from Cassie Ventura, Miss Dickerson Neal, and others, she knew she had a moral obligation to speak up. Plaintiff prayed to God, I don't know if that's a typo or if we are censoring that, before bringing this lawsuit, as she feared further violence and or retaliation from defendant Combs, but ultimately decided that she needed to speak her truth. So, she prayed before bringing this specific lawsuit. Between this timing, so November and now, but ultimately decided she needs to speak her truth. Plaintiff seeks justice for herself and for any of other victims of Combs. Now, they're going to go through the cause of action. So the first is the gender violence. What else do we got? Anything else? They're just saying all the parties are participants of this cause of action. And they're saying as a direct and proximate result of the aforementioned crime of violence and gender-motivated violence, plaintiff has sustained and will continue to sustain monetary damages, physical injury, pain and suffering, and serious psychological and emotional distress, entitling her to an award of compensatory and punitive damages, injunctive and declaratory relief, attorney's fees and costs, and other remedies as the court may deem proper. And jury. And then let's see, what does McKinney want? So, we want a judgment against the defendants, declaring that defendant Combs engaged in unlawful practices. So, declare that he did it. Declare that defendant's bad boy record, Sean John, and all of those groups also engage in unlawful practices prohibited by the Gender Motivated Violence Protection Act, and that they enable defendant Combs' commission of the crimes of violence motivated by gender. And again, I'm going to say, where is the designer that coordinated all of this? Does he work for one of these companies? Because they don't say that. They just refer to him as the designer. But if we're talking about we want some type of relief awarded to us, the plaintiff, against these people, these parties that enabled Combs' behavior, where is the designer? Who we have several lines in this same lawsuit saying he was the one that planned it and pressured it and coordinated it and, played the marionette. Awarding plaintiff compensatory damages for mental and emotional injury, distress, pain and suffering, and injury to her reputation in an amount to be proven. Awarding plaintiff's damages for defendant's breach of contract. So that's a Sean John contract since she modeled for them. I wonder if that's something more, because that could be kind of interesting. But we don't see them talk about it up above, which would kind of be the place to at least lay out some of the facts in the statement of facts. Awarding plaintiff punitive damages. Awarding plaintiff attorney's fees, costs, and expenses incurred in the prosecution of this action. And awarding plaintiff such other and further relief as the court may deem equitable, just, and proper. So here we have signed, we are Phillips and Associates. That's our law firm that we're working with here. So don't recognize any of these names. Maybe you guys do. Let me zoom this in. So maybe I'll do like a quick Google search, see if there's anything interesting there. And I think that's the end of it, right? Filed today. So yeah, that is that. That is that. Let me see what you guys are talking about. And let me also, if anyone does want to come up, if you're watching on X, you won't see me leave a comment. It's only in the chat on YouTube. But I did drop the chat if anyone wants to jump up on the stream and share their thoughts and reactions. But what are you guys saying? Oh, you guys have been chatty. I love to see it. Okay, I know I was, I saw some Monica Lewinsky comments earlier. Hey, Lily, good to see you. So I'm going to go here. Shine is the Prime Minister of Belize now? Wait, is that for real? I heard he was running for it. Chill here with the quickness. You good, Chill? All right, Chill showing up for the gun show.
Oh, yeah, I was on my way out. I'm not on screen. Good. Now I'm on screen. Look, listen.
I can get rid of this.
Chillmonger has been quite non-vocal about this whole situation because what I'm not going to do is provide coverage of what they want you to think of men who look like Sean Combs. So out of solidarity, there will be no coverage of this coming out of my side. Mm-hmm.
But what are you covering lately? Give them the 411.
I think I talked about academics. I did that. Talking about...
Yeah, well, that's still that might go on for a little bit of back and forth because I don't think she's just going to drop her suit, and I don't think he's going to settle. So
he says he's got cameras. If he has cameras, then all right. I'm gonna just. I hope that you're being honest about what the cameras portray.
Yeah.
And I actually lean toward. I don't know, but I lean towards academics might be right on this one, and maybe she was just.
Yeah, I want to see the cameras because the one sketchy part is that part where she's like, look, I wanted to see what was happening to me. And he sent me like a screenshot and wouldn't show me more. So if that's true, then it seems like holding some of the footage that may actually exist. But again, that was coming from a filing. And then his side of the story is coming from him on his podcast. So none of it's really, and I don't trust police to do thorough investigations. So I can't just say, well, if the police looked at it, am I going to like give them 10 out of 10 rating and trust them entirely? Like, where do I lean on this? There's no basket to put all your eggs in confidently with that situation is how I'm going to leave it.
Not like this Diddy stuff, because we can confidently put our baskets in. He probably is guilty of anything.
He probably did this. Or like, maybe there wasn't an issue of consent in the moment because it was 90s culture, like entertainment culture, and now that's like more taboo nowadays, right? You shouldn't just be going up trying to smoke someone up and use them as a booty call to clap some cheeks or whatever and force their head down on anything. But we don't know in that exact moment if maybe it was she wanted to elevate her career and her career didn't elevate, and now she sees other people having success, that she wants to turn around and say, well, in that one moment,
Yeah.
it was non-consensual. Because maybe it wasn't, but maybe it was in the moment.
Yeah, but what you said about the whole phone number, he was making advances the whole night, and then he offered the phone number. Well, what do you think the phone number is for? So yeah, you could look at her that way also. Uh he's Diddy. I don't want to defend
Yeah,
him.
I think it's kind of one of those things where at the end of the day, you say you're going home in a cab, and then you're saying that the friend tried to say you've never had weed like this, but the theory is Diddy's always having other people do his bidding for him. So just because someone else gave her the thing that may have made her lose consciousness or not feel in control of herself, just because that came from someone that wasn't Diddy, doesn't necessarily, from what we know, doesn't necessarily mean he doesn't have culpability over that.
Yeah.
So, and that's another thing, like sometimes you can't just say if someone's messed up and you don't realize that they're not in a position to, like, it seems like they're consenting, but maybe they're a little bit too far gone and you don't know because you're drunk too. That's one of those really gray areas in you know, hookup culture, I guess is the way I can summarize it quickly. But when you know that your boys are out there handing people special weed to smoke for you on your behalf, that's a different story. What's the excuse there? You're responsible, even if it's your boy that rolls it up and hands it off. If you know what they're doing for you, you're responsible.
That's why when Baca went down with that weird case, why is he around? Baca is the entourage of Drake. Anything that the like head guy in charge, anyone who's around him will take those charges so that the money train doesn't stop. Diddy is also is a guy who will keep people around him. So should something go sour, all right, fine, it'll be me. I'll do 2 years. I'll come back out, and my kid will have the best Christmas toys. Everyone's gonna be taken care of while I'm in there, just so that the money train doesn't stop flowing into Bad Boy. So yeah, I would hold Diddy a bit responsible.
And then I'd say the other thing, everyone's calling it a Lewinsky moment, but the thing is, if they can get something out of this thing and they can push it forward and they can say she came across state lines and she was given drugs, maybe this could become something that a DA will want to finally charge. And even if this might be a weaker situation than someone that was abused for 10 years and we have a video proving that, maybe the evidence to back up this claim isn't as substantial. It's not 100%, right? But it could be the thing that could bring a charge forward if they want to say, well, there's drugs coming across state lines. And I'm surprised New York hasn't moved to do something like that with Cassie's case, because Cassie, some of her allegations were also New York City. She traveled here. She was drugged up. They were in some New York City hotels after doing dinners.
Oh, but that's
You
because
know,
Diddy is a op. Diddy is very much uh involved with some of those like higher up
he's
law
got the
enforcement.
keys to the city. He's got the keys. The key.
Right. So he's not gonna be charged, or they're not gonna pursue anything. And the opportunistic nature of this specific suit, though, that it's coming a couple days right after we saw the video with Cassie, leads to show me that they needed this extra oomph to win in court. They needed everything. If it was strong enough to stand on its own, then we would have heard about this last week. But there's a reason why it came out just 3 days after the video.
Because that's the time frame that from this suit, right? I mean, we could say maybe this was drafted before November, but in their own words in the suit, the idea seemed to come across her mind because of Cassie's filing, which only happened in November of 2023. So that gives us a window from when this may have even been an idea born into a drafting and then into a filing. The beginning of that window seems to be, what was it, November 16th that Cassie filed? Something like that. Something in November. Until now, when we're getting this was filed electronically today, the 21st of May. So very small window when you're talking about a one-time occurrence that happened in 2003. Very small window. So it's hard not to question the timing of it. But at the same time, normally when I question the timing of something, I'm like, I have to be extra cautious and understand that I'm reading a complaint, it's not proven allegations. But then I'm like, but it's Diddy. It's
Yeah.
Diddy. So
That's how I was with Vince McMahon. It's Vince, but mm, psh, I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. I'm
Vince is
out.
interesting. I think Vince is probably wait, so I dropped your link in the chat. Chillmonger is the channel. If you are watching this on X, you will not see Chillmonger's link because it doesn't send comments over there. But just type Chillmonger. He'll come up. It'll be great. Thanks for your thoughts. I always respect your opinions, Chill. So I know you're still in the chat. And then let's see. So I wonder if Kat thinks Kim knew anything about this at the time. Do you mean Kim Porter? And I mean, okay, so if this situation's going on, right, where you're up in a hotel room and your boys are all hanging out after some fashion week thing, like that's a pretty big event. Like you've got a bunch of people hanging out, you're rolling up, you've got Hennessy and joints. You're having girls come through one off all the time. So whether Kim Porter knew about this specific woman on this specific instance, if it was just a habitual thing, it would be the idea of like he's doing that type of thing in general. So probably. And then yeah, Pam, so this is still within the window of this, because hold on, let me pull it back up on the screen. It's not the Adult Survivors Act, which that window's closed. It's the New York City Victims of Gender Motivated Violence Protection Act, which is still gravy, still kosher to use with that bigger look back window. So let's see. See, so sometimes Barbara, I'm late to your comments, but he definitely had his black balls. So I don't know what that's referencing, but it was good in the moment, I'm sure. And then now that I understand, Melanin Point of View says that I understand. Diddy was a powerful man. Majors, on the other hand, nah. And guys, that's my take on the Majors thing. Do not compare the two, because with Diddy, we have a video of him chasing someone who's laying on the ground, trying not to do anything back. With Jonathan Majors, we see him running away from someone. We have the only other witness that was in the car with them saying the girl, was doing everything. Jonathan Majors was doing nothing. He was the one just trying to get rid of her and get away. We see him running. So, yeah. I've only seen like one or two like anonymous Twitter accounts try to make that comparison to say that Majors is Diddy. And it's absurd. It's absurd, and it's totally against the evidence. The main video that both of them have are the exact opposite of one another. So I agree 100,000%. And then Lewis, good to see you, Lewis. So part of the reason that she is going to have problems with relationships is what guy wants to date a woman that could file charges. And that's valid too, because now, and maybe there's people out there that don't really pay that much attention, but if you're a former model, you probably like to talk about entertainment. You might find yourself wanting to date someone that's up on pop culture and news and entertainment news. And then you file this lawsuit that's going to be in the headlines. So it's probably hard to meet someone if you want them to be interested in the same things, like pop culture and entertainment, and not have them be aware that you filed a high-profile suit like this. And then Denise, right, why isn't the designer named? Yin Yang, I'm agreeing. You're saying these accusations against famous or rich people usually end up in settlements with the victim being paid off to keep their mouth shut. To me, the way this is just written, it's shorter. You know, they could file an amended complaint. We could see some more come out. There could be a response, and then in response to the response, they'll get beefier with it. You know, I don't know. But for me, this is astonishingly short. And then you see it's only about one incident that she's saying ruined her whole career because she believes, upon information and belief, that Combs purposely went and blackballed her from the industry. And what's crazy about that is, I bet all of us in the chat could say, he probably does have the power to do that. But at the same time, what would have caused him to go and do that? If the last interaction you had, you were in a bathroom and you don't remember anything and you were just in a car on your way back to the designer's apartment or house or hotel, wherever you guys were staying. Like, what would... I don't know, maybe he is that unhinged, but where's the proof? What are the receipts? Because we can say in the public, like, yeah, he probably did do that. But if you're taking this to court, what are your receipts to show that upon information and belief, he blackballed you? And that's why your career is gone. And then Aisha, yeah, I don't know. So it's possible I think she mentioned in the suit, like mostly in Miami. at the time. Oh, so at the time. So maybe it was just for like a short stint. Maybe I'm reading this wrong. So maybe she was staying in Miami because she was doing a lot of work there. A fashion designer. So it doesn't really say that the fashion designer was with her doing other gigs. It just says she was invited. So this is really vague. I feel like there is no room to really speculate unless, does Andre Talley have, are there other people that said that maybe he's facilitating certain things? But they left this so vague. Then maybe designer's going to be one of their witnesses. That's true. So obviously you don't want to like poke the bear, right? If you want him to speak for you on your behalf. And then Barbara. So the second I saw your comment, I'm thinking of the apology video. He's going to have to go on another trip. And I think AV said, AV to the seventh power said it looked like he was on a safari. And so the whole chat started calling that apology video the sorry safari. So he is going to have to go on another sorry safari if he's going to apologize to anybody. But Barbara says she will never get an apology from him and he will never say I did it. Nobody ever admits to what they did anymore. That's what the money is for. And then that video, he was just like, he like pushed the burden off to God, right? You know, God, I don't need forgiveness. I'm talking to God. So not really a sorry. And Pam, yeah. So, you know what, give it like a week and like somebody, not even a week, probably 2 days, and someone on the internet will sleuth this out and find out who this designer is. Okay, and then Aisha saying Andre used to work with Diddy and Sean a lot. Sean John. So. Oh, these comments are way long ago because we're at the diamond encrusted jeans. Let's see. Yeah, I think we're talking about the contracts now too. So you sleeping with someone to further your career, but the person does not follow through with what they say. It was just that and not contractual. Right, like, you know, coming back and trying to say that you had a contract in place because of something that maybe wasn't even said verbally. You just thought was implicitly suggested through the vibe of the room. Like, that's not exactly a solid contract, but I would love to see it argued. And then High Value Man says, not that I condone any of what he may have done. The 90s to early 2000s were a completely different era. That said, plenty of evidence at this point to him behind bars. Yeah, so that's the thing, right? Like, I'm in the position I like to, when I read filings, I like to kind of think of the counter arguments, right? Which puts me in the shoes of the opposing party. And when you're reading the initial filing, it puts you in the defendant's shoes because the initial filing is always by the plaintiff, the accuser. And with this, it's like, but it's still the big picture of it being Diddy. And it's like, means to an end, something's got to get this guy, right? Like, good for Cassie. She, you know, I think she deserves every penny of the settlement that she may have gotten. We don't know the amount. But what about like something more than just a reputational slap on, like, his reputation sucks, but he's still got the money to live his life if nothing else comes his way. And is your reputation being ruined really justice for, even if we say that everything else is frivolous and it's just Cassie, he did all that to Cassie, is a settlement on the civil side and him being able to get away with that, assuming he all these other accusers, just making it up. I'm not saying that's the case, just hypothetical. Would it be right for him not to face charges? And that's where you get into this interesting realm of statute of limitations. They exist for a reason, but there are some people that have very valid experiences that fall outside the box of those statutes of limitations. So, but I don't know. I think so many people are looking to see if someone actually goes down the criminal realm and brings some charges forward. And then Lauren, so good to see you, Lauren. You may have seen it by now. It was Phillips. Where was it? Phillips and Associates, and then Michelle Keola. You know me and my pronunciations, and then Jonathan Goldhirsch are her two attorneys here filing this complaint. Yep, I'm gonna reiterate. So Denise here is reiterating. Never relax in a stranger's house. Honestly, sometimes, even if you think you know somebody, because what do we see in the DJ Academics lawsuit, right? She thought, even though she had a gut feeling, she said she questioned herself because she knew Ack was there and she thought these were Ack's like close friends. So she gave it an extra pass that maybe she wouldn't have otherwise. Again, that's just if we take her complaint at face value, and maybe what she's saying is true, but never relax at a stranger's house and still use caution even if you think you know somebody. And then E. Capone, good to see you. Justice Junkies. And what else are you guys saying? Okay, so Lily is with the receipts here. I believe the Joan Rivers movie she was in was a 2000 film called The Intern. And it's on Tubi. Well, that's not a good a good realization. I just saw right before I did the stream, right? I went over to X to add the YouTube link to the thing that pops up on X to say that there's a live video going on. And I see like 50 Cent talking about, how his documentary on Diddy went to Netflix and how TMZ is mad because theirs went to Tubi. So I'm like coming off the heels of 50 Cent taking digs at Tubi. And then we're reading this complaint where McKinney's like, my modeling career plummeted. It basically evaporated entirely, was her language. And then she mentioned a movie, doesn't name the movie, and then Lily comes with the receipts and says it's a Tubi movie now. It's on Tubi. So. Yeah, and that's the thing. So, like, Diddy 100% had the power to blackball someone in the industry. And in multiple wings of it, right? So modeling, TV, film, music, all of that. And then Aisha says Diddy was known for discovering talent back then. Yeah, and then getting them suckered into 10 record deals, and then they'd get one album out. And then what? And then what? But unfortunately, that's obviously, like, we know that now in hindsight, but people probably saw him as, oh my gosh, this is like an opportunity, not knowing that a decade later, that opportunity was a complete pipe dream. And then Lewis, okay, so this is a great question. So Lewis says, I'm actually curious. How do you prove that someone who is really powerful can cause severe disruption to your career? And the thing would be, actually did, right? And if you're taking this to the civil route, if she's going like some contract law that could rise to the level where it's like fraud, criminal, you could be dealing with a different standard of probabilities. But in a civil suit like this, you're only dealing with a pretty much 50-50 probability, more probable than not, that 51%. So you go in there, what could you do to convince a jury with evidence that a judge will allow in, where you can say, this person used their power to influence my career? Well, is there any written correspondence where, Diddy sent an email to a brand or a company or a talent agency and said, cut her loose, or, hey, I'm rethinking this because you're working with this person, hinting something like, cut that person or I'll cut my support and my funding or the attention I bring you guys, right? There are things like that. If someone did a hint, nudge, nudge, wink, wink, and if there isn't written communications like emails, paperwork, a witness could come forward and say, yep, I worked at this label and we got a call from someone from Bad Boy and they said, look, we're not really feeling how you're working with this client and we still want to work with you guys, but we don't want to work with you guys while you're still working with them. Hinting that, scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. You get rid of that person and keep me on. But what's the problem with that? You would also be expecting the other party that scratched your back to come out and say, yeah, we let talented people go, not because of merits, not because of any valid reason other than we just wanted to appease somebody that everybody hates. Like, no brand or business, if they even have the same employees or the records from 2003, are going to want to come forward and be like, yeah, we cut people that were talented and we had no reason to cut except for just caving into Diddy's demands. So it's possible, but it's an uphill battle. It's an absolute uphill battle. Hold on, wait. I don't know, Barbara, I never know if you're serious or not. So, when I search for it, I'm getting Will Ferrell pictures. Okay, Zoolander reference. Oh my god, thank you, chat. Okay, so Barbara comes with receipts and she comes with comedy. So sometimes, if it's over my head, I don't know. And I do want to jump here. E. Capone, thanks so much for your $4.99 super chat. And you're spelling it out, Cat Not Williams. What'd it do? Was this your chance to just say Cat Not Williams? Thank you, I appreciate that. And it's always good to see you, E. Capone, my fellow justice junkie. And then what else we got? I've got some work to get back to. I'm like, Tuesday has kicked my butt today. It has not been it's been a productive day, but it's not been an easy one. And I've got some stuff to go back to doing after this. So let me go through these comments. We will start wrapping it up. I'm also going to upload this filing, and as soon as the stream ends, I can pin it as a comment under the video. If you guys want to read the comment on the filing on your own, it's nice and short. Only 15 pages. That's like a record short reading for us here. And then let's see. Hold on, I see 50 Cent talk. 50 must have a rich baby daddy. I'm surprised he isn't in the fire yet. No, there's actually rumblings with Diddy. Why am I saying Diddy? With 50. Let me never make that slip of the tongue again. I'm sorry, 50. But he's actually having some accusations come his way. So we'll see if they move forward at all. And if there's a filing, we can go and read it. But his baby mom's making accusations. She's doing an Instagram post though. So, and I think he's filed a defamation suit against her. Yeah, he filed a defamation suit against her, I'm pretty sure, like a week and a half ago. So, he's pretty much taking the offensive through civil action, filing the lawsuit. And I think they've had some, like, a little bit of custody stuff going back and forth. But it stemmed from her posting this thing on Instagram calling him a rapist. So, that, I think 50 Cent is someone that, maybe we'll look at some filings and see. Gigi, you were all the way late, but the good news is it was only 15 pages. So this is probably the shortest live complaint reading to have to recap on. And then Wayne says, did this lady get punched in the side of the head too? This was a really, really concise incident that's being alleged here. In a hotel room, drinking, agrees to smoke a joint, suddenly feels weird after taking what felt like a strong hit, and then Diddy has her come to the bathroom and he forces her to give him oral. So, and then she's in a taxi cab on the way home. So, she didn't even have room to add in details like that. That was as short and concise as it was. So, we didn't get any specificity on anything else happening. But who knows, maybe it'll beef up if replies go back and forth, responses. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking of, Arbico. So back to the 50, because his baby mom is named in the Lil Rod suit, and then he was posting about her being a little, what did he say? A little sex worker, right? Is that what he called her? And then she went on Instagram and called him a rapist, so then I think he filed a defamation suit because of that Instagram post is what actually triggered it. So, and when I looked up, I tried to pull it up, I don't think I was able to see the full complaint, but I'll go check after the stream, and if there is one, we can look at that, we can read that. I feel like 50 has had a lot of business-related suits previously. I'm sure his attorneys are top quality. It'll probably be some good legal sparring if we can look at that complaint. I'd be interested in it. I'm gonna wrap it up though, guys, because I do have some stuff I want to finish before I end up conking out and going to sleep. Thank you for joining though. This was a last minute filing. I went to take a break and eat, saw it. I'm like, let's see if the filing's available. There it was. And I always love having you guys come in the chat and talk about it because it's really good to not feel alone, to play devil's advocate about things and then not have you guys judge and feel like, you must always side with the defendant or you must always side with the plaintiff. You guys, I always love you guys in the chat so much. You guys are so thoughtful. You guys are full of knowledge too and receipts. And I always enjoy it every time we get to do stuff like this. So big thank you to everyone. Aisha, Barbara, as always, Arbiko, Gigi, Wayne. If I go back up, Lewis, Yin Yang, E. Capone, LVB, Pam, Chill, who may have left, but Chillmonger too. And I think all the way back, we have High Value Man. Thank you so much. You're the sponsor for this stream with the help of E. Capone. And Denise, always good to see you. And then the list goes on. If I'm going up to the beginning, you guys may not even be in here anymore. But Melanin POV. We've got live from New York City. Oh yeah, and I didn't see this comment. Hennessy is the devil's piss. So, you gotta watch out. Hennessy to me always means trouble. Gray, Carbro. I think we're up at the top. I see Lily again. And TH Lynn, always good to see you guys. Enverf's Turf, rounding it out. Thank you so much, you guys, for your thoughts as always. Take care, have a good night, and see you.